I gave this presentation about 2 months ago at Texas A&M Commerce to the physics department. I won't tell you what the result was until the end, but you can, actually it was very positive, I'll give you that clue. But I'll tell you about that when we finish, and you can be thinking about how physicists would respond to this kind of evidence. There were about 30 professors and about 20 grad students, and actually it was a slightly abbreviated version of this presentation. And I'm on college campuses about once a month across the country, and we were just up at the University of Akron, and we were speaking there each evening for a week. We had a nasty letter published in the newspaper about midway through the week, and it doubled our crowds. Well, we had this all set and ready to go. All right, here we go, getting close. All right, we're going to be talking about the record of the rocks this evening. And the main theme, as indicated, is going to be the coexistence of humans and dinosaurs. The evolutionists tell us that when we dig down in the rocks, we see the progressive development of life recorded as if recorded by a tape recorder over long periods of time. Over 500 million years, the record that is indicated in the fossil record. And so we're talking primarily about that record, the sedimentary rock record that covers the continents. There's an average of about 1.5 miles of sedimentary rock that covers the continents. It has billions and billions of dead things in it. It's laid down by water, and it covers all the continents. Now, I know a good explanation for that. But there are alternative views that we'll be considering this evening. Is this 1.5 miles of sediment on the average that covers all the continents the result of gradual buildup over millions of years that records the development of life over that period? Or is this a rapid, catastrophic deposition that is a flood deposit? Now, those are two very different views, and we should be able to look at the rock record and tell the difference. Of course, if you believe philosophically in naturalism and you don't want to submit to a creator, then you have to have a slow, gradual explanation for the record of the rocks. I think when you look at the record of the rocks, it's obvious that it was catastrophic, and that stratigraphy indicates a flood deposit and challenges naturalism. Now, we won't have time this evening to look at all of the evidence for flood deposits, but we're going to look particularly at the evidence of coexistence of humans and dinosaurs, which I think is central and critical, and even evolutionists would acknowledge it. But the evolutionary representation of what you find when you dig down in this sedimentary rock record looks like this, the geologic time scale. And down at the bottom you have the very simple animals, and you get more complex as you go up. This is that progression of life supposed to be recorded over millions of years. The biggest problem with this is that it's found only in the textbooks. You can't dig down in the earth and find this complete record anywhere, as any knowledgeable geologist knows, though often you have to get to grad school to understand that. But notice the statement by Leighton Judson, a standard geology text, that says, because we cannot find sedimentary rocks representing all Earth time neatly in one convenient area, we must piece together the rock sequence from locality to locality. It is not found anywhere. It's pieced together. Some over here in Texas and some over in China and some in England. This process of tying one rock sequence in one place to another in some other place is known as correlation. And so it's correlated from various places and not found in any one spot. As the Encyclopedia Britannica says, the end product of correlation is a mental abstraction called the geologic column. Now, many students taking earth science, junior high, high school, even college courses don't grasp this, that it's a mental abstraction, it's a construct. Notice the comment about this by R.H. Rastell, again in the Encyclopedia Britannica from Cambridge. He says, it cannot be denied that geologists are here arguing in a circle. And he's explaining how they come up with this correlation. How do they know what goes on top and what goes on bottom? Because they're picking it from various places. It's not because of where it's found geographically. He says the succession of organisms has been determined by study of the remains embedded in the rocks, and the relative ages of the rocks are determined by the organisms they contain. Now we can see that circular process, or illustrate it somewhat oversimplified, but it works like this. A person says, I have a primitive fossil here. Well, how do you know that's a primitive fossil? Well, it's found in an old rock. All right, I understand that. But how do you know that this is an old rock? Well, it's got a primitive fossil in it. And we're obviously not proving anything, but this is the correlation process and the way it works. Notice Putman and Bassett's description of this in the textbook Geology, and these are standard geology textbooks used across the country. A rock that had an early form, and notice the assumption, this presumes the thing to be proved to start with, but it's an early form, so where does it go? It goes on the bottom, doesn't it? Clearly older than rocks containing later forms, which would go on the top. Furthermore, all rocks that had the early form, no matter how far apart those rocks were geographically, would have to be the same age. So it's not where, but is it early or late in terms of the evolutionary assumption. In this way, our geologic timetable came into being. Without the theory of evolution and the interdisciplinary science of paleontology, it could not exist. So you use evolution to stack, to order the correlation. And then once you get it stacked, you turn around and say, see, the proof of evolution. Well, no, you have to have evolution in order to build it. Now, again, I'm somewhat oversimplifying, and there are